afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters.
It's right here.
It's right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hammonton Mike, bringing you another solid special that you're just going to talk about for weeks, months, well, maybe hours. Today, we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Final, going to break down the semifinals that we had talked about earlier, and we're going to go right into the Cup. First, Memorial Day weekend, we want to send a big thank you to all the servicemen here and overseas. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service, especially for me, my two friends that I know very well, Mark Builder and Danny Quill. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Anybody?
Nobody specific, but, I've always admired everybody who dedicates their life to the military. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of selflessness, and, to all you men and women that are out there that have dedicated your life to keeping our country safe and free, hats off to you.
Absolutely. It's not just a weekend about partying. It's about for the people that have done stuff for our freedom. Thank you. First, we're going to start our conversation about the Blues-Sharks series. In this series, I think in the beginning, we both agreed on, and that's what we get for agreeing on a series.
We can't agree anymore.
We both agreed that the Blues would take out the Sharks. I think I said 6. We both said 6
as well. Yeah.
We both said 6, and obviously the Blues came up small in the last two games. The big exclamation point for me is Tarasenko. I mean, 2 goals. When, like we were talking about earlier before the show, it really didn't matter. I mean, here's a Blues team that was rolling on all cylinders and hit a wall the last 2 games.
Yeah, for those that have watched us, through this playoffs on the Sports Box, we had both felt that the depth that St. Louis had, versus a top-heavy roster that San Jose had would favor the Blues, and we both definitely missed the boat on that. The offense dried up in a really, really big way for the Blues. They were shut out 3 times in the series, and the household names came up very small. Like you said, Tarasenko, 2 goals in the series when the series was already over in Game 6. David Backes, who had 21 goals in the regular season, probably played his last game as a Blue, it appears.
Yep.
Had only 1 goal in the series. Even a guy like Robbie Fabry, who you probably didn't hear about till last round against Dallas, came up with only 1 goal in the series. They averaged 2 goals a game, but it is misleading. Yep. They had the 1 game where they scored 6 goals, and everything else, kind of gets adjusted as a result of that. But we mentioned that the top-heavy Sharks, they're big guns. They came up big. Joe Pavelski tied Wayne Gretzky's record with 13 goals through the first 3 rounds. On fire. The captain leading by example. We
at least I keep knocking the Sharks, keep saying to the veteran leadership and this and that, they're going to get, they're going to get knocked back a little bit. This is a team that just keeps moving along. I mean, with Patrick Marleau, Logan Couture having a great series, Pavelski, like Brian said, and again, we're going to get back to the goaltending because I'm a big goaltending guy here. I think St. Louis, I don't know if they jumped the gun a little bit to Jake Allen. I think they had to do something by switching goaltenders, but you switch goaltenders in a series and you're playing Russian roulette because if it doesn't work out for you, you really can't go back to the other guy. And here's Martin Jones for the Sharks. That's played relatively well. It's almost like a Trent Dilfer effect where he's not killing them, but he's doing his job. He's not winning solid games by himself for him, but he's not hurting them.
This is the year of the goalies you never heard of.
It is. It really is.
I agree with you. They made the change from Elliott to Jake Allen after being shut out twice. I mean, being shut out twice is not your goaltender.
At that point, you have to do something.
Yeah, I kind of get that, but it's another example of a team doing that, changing goalies in the middle of a series, having to come back to bite them. Yep. Elliott, I think when he came back in Game 6, looked totally rattled from the jump. I think the pressure got to him, and the Sharks continue to surprise. And like you said, Martin Jones, you can't say enough about him. He's coming out of nowhere to lead a team that nobody expected to go this far. To get to this point.
Absolutely. So, in that sense, nice job, Blues. Way to blow it for us again. And by the way, I'm 0-2, so let's get to the second one. That's right, people. I know you're dying to wait for that.
Oh, you got this one wrong, too?
I think I got this one wrong, too.
Well, I did this one
what
right.
a surprise, another Game 7. What a surprise, folks. Let's talk about the Lightning Penguins series where, yes, Mike took another one in the rump. Okay, let's talk Lightning, how they came up small. And did I see right Steven Stamkos play in the series?
He did play in Game 7.
He did play in Game 7. I think, believe it or not, that hurt the Lightning because here's a guy that hasn't played in forever. And you're getting back out there in a situation of Game 7. It is desperation, and I know you probably want your best player out there. But in that sense, I think it hurt him because there was no chemistry but who was out there to begin with. You got a lot of guys that haven't played with him before on different lines, shuffling him around. Just like basketball, I always tell Brian, there's only one puck, and there's how many superstars you're going to carry this. But the Lightning, came out small. When Ben Bishop went down, I said all bets are off. But you know what? The kid came in and played well.
No, absolutely. It was really a fantastic series. I mean, Tampa Bay really surprised me with their ability to hang on in this series. You mentioned Ben Bishop's injury. In Game 1, I mean, you see the guy grabbing his knee in the crease. I mean, you could easily throw your hands up and say, you know what, this isn't our year. Stamkos was still out at that point. No one would have been surprised at all to see Tampa roll over and die, and they did. To their credit, they won that game. They were up 3-2 in the series. They lost a Game 6 at home. They couldn't close that deal. It was probably a big spot for them. They could have moved on, and they weren't able to do it there. I think Vasilevsky played very, very well for the Lightning. I don't think you can say that Bishop going down is why they lost the series.
Vasilevsky really played solid. He actually stole, I would think he stole Game 4. To be honest, I think he won it on himself.
It's Tampa's second straight year where they had a chance to close out the Eastern Conference Final at home and couldn't do it. Now, last year they did beat my Rangers. This year it didn't work out so well for them. This was a very, very close series. I think that's got a lot more to do, honestly, with Pittsburgh's lack of execution in spots, more so than what Tampa was doing. The one thing I really didn't like on Pittsburgh's behalf was Mike Sullivan's move to start Fleury in Game 5.
Yeah, that was definitely a desperation move there. And again, you're flip-flopping goalies. You're playing Russian roulette there.
I know what he was trying to do. Pittsburgh was down 4-0 in Game 4, going into the third. Brings Fleury in, who hasn't really played a lot in the playoffs. Actually, not at all. Up to that point. No. They lost at Game 4-3. They had a bit of a comeback in the third. But that move going to Fleury in Game 5, and Fleury himself said he didn't really feel comfortable, could have cost them the series. They're lucky that it didn't. Stamkos coming back in Game 7, like you mentioned, you would think it would provide a lift for Tampa. I didn't see that at all. The one takeaway I think that we can both take from Game 7 and how it went down is Pittsburgh continues to not need their big guns to score to win. Brian Rust, who you've probably never heard unless you've been watching the sports box religiously, scored both goals, including the game winner.
Brian did mention Rust before in our earlier segments about this kid. There's a kid stepped up. And when you need him to step up. But it's scary that Pittsburgh, it's like a switch. They came out in Game 7, guns blazing. And I said it in Game 5, after Game 5, when Tampa Bay, when they had to go to Game 6, I said if Tampa Bay doesn't win Game 6 and close this thing out, they're in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely.
You can't go to Pittsburgh and expect to win Game 7, especially the way Pittsburgh's been playing.
No, absolutely. And a bit of the next level on Tampa here, just going off of your point on Steven Stamkos. I'm going to make a controversial statement here. I am going to go on record and say, it's the crudest sport, but come on, turn it down. It only works for you.
It's unbelievable.
I'm going to go on record and say that the Lightning should not, and I repeat, should not sign Steven Stamkos this offseason.
I agree.
His contract's up. They had an opportunity to trade him at the deadline for assets. They chose not to do that. He went out with injury after that. That's something, with the blood clot. I don't think teams are going to shy away from him, but I think it's going to play in their mind a little bit. They got to this Eastern Conference Final without him. You could make the case that the road that they had to get there wasn't very difficult. Probably the easiest road of anybody that got to that point. It's a very young team in a lot of respects, a very talented team. It's a big offseason for them. So you look at what Stamkos might get from a team like Toronto, who's got a lot of cap space, looking for a marquee guy, could easily get $10 million a year. Again, you look at the way that the Lightning are structured. So this offseason, you have Nikita Kucherov, Alex Killorn, Vladimir Nemestikov, all are restricted free agents.
Big decisions to make. Big decisions.
Next year, Tyler Johnson, Andre Palat, Jonathan Drouin, restricted free agents. Victor Hedman, unrestricted next year. A lot of teams are giving out crappy contracts these days. Between Ryan Callahan and Valtteri Filppula, who aren't really big players for this Lightning team, that's close to $11 million in cash that they're not going to be able to move. I
think Filppula goes out elsewhere. I don't think they're going to reach him. But I'll tell you what, Hedman, they better make all the moves in the world to sign him after this playoff series. He's played phenomenal.
Absolutely. I think signing Stamkos to that kind of deal will really hamstring a young team with a lot of promise. And Jonathan Drouin, who was they wanted to get rid of him for, they don't want to get him for nothing, but he was somebody who was easily available at the deadline. Had a great series. He's somebody who you can build around going forward. Maybe let Stamkos go. As the goalie guy that you are, I think the way the contracts go. Listen, Vasilevsky impressed me. He
really did.
Yeah, and he was a first-round pick, so high pedigree. I believe that they should look into moving Ben Bishop this offseason.
And it wasn't like I'm sorry to cut you off. No, it wasn't like they moved into the first round with Vasilevsky. Here's a guy that stepped in their semifinals and really showed what he's made of. So, for that sense, that's unbelievable. He can come off the bench and hasn't played the entire playoffs and play like he did. That's just phenomenal.
Pittsburgh's no slouch, you know that. So I think if they intend to keep this group together, and they've drafted so well over the last couple of years, I think that they're going to warrant big raises. I think you have to just walk away from Steven Stamkos.
You signed Steven Stamkos. 4 out of the 6 guys that Brian mentioned, you cannot sign. That's right. You want to roll the dice now and try to keep this team afloat to where they are, or do you want to keep a solid nucleus with this team and keep it steady going up?
Still building.
I think unfortunately, I think he can't sign Steven Stamkos as well. I think somebody's going to sign him.
Oh, sure.
But he's a big ticket item. A lot of injuries. Great goal scorer, but I mean, he'll help out another team. He'll definitely help out another team.
This is around the age too where they say that players start to decline a little bit, where they hit their peak. Is it really worth putting $10 million for 7 years into?
I don't think so.
Not with that roster.
Not the way they're structured.
I agree.
No.
Totally.
All right, and the last game. That's right, folks. We're going to the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to Pittsburgh and San Jose. And it's already talk of this game. You know, this is why the NHL isn't good, and this is why it is. If you're a hockey fan, you know San Jose's been around for 25 years. You know, they got to start somewhere. Is it a big market? Not necessarily. Pittsburgh's a huge market, but I don't mind. I actually like teams to get in there. And you want to start with the Sharks team first. Here's a team that, you know, we've been doing this show since the inception here, and they beat the Ducks, they beat the Stars, they beat the Predators, and I think almost every round I've had them getting bumped. I think maybe even the first round against the Ducks I had them getting beat. I know
Kings, actually.
Or the Kings,
Close.
I'm sorry, the Kings.
You're right there in the part of the country.
That's right, I'm right in that side of the country. That's right. So, and I think I had them losing almost every round. Yeah, that's right. The Kings, I remember losing.
And
they played the Stars.
Nashville, you had them losing to Nashville.
Correct. I did have them losing to Nashville.
Yeah, you hate San Jose, don't you?
I must hate San Jose. I just don't like the team. I don't know. But you know what it is? Brent Burns' beard. I just fear the beard. That's what it is.
Right.
But in any sense, my whole point is that the Sharks have been an underdog this whole way. And you know what? They are the best team in the Western Conference. Whether people think they're not, in the beginning of the year, if you would have told me it's coming down to Pittsburgh and San Jose, I would have said you're nuts, because Pittsburgh didn't play well at all in the beginning of the year at all. And the Sharks were okay. They weren't playing phenomenal, but they were playing okay. But you know what? At the end, all that matters. Here we are with the Penguins and the Sharks.
Absolutely. It is a star-studded final, but I agree with you. I'm not sure how much national attention from casual fans it's going to get.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
First finals appearance for Pittsburgh since winning it all in 2009. First time ever for San Jose. A very interesting goalie matchup. We've been talking about it again. The goalies you never heard of have come up big this playoffs between Murray and Jones. I think they've both proven that they can handle the spotlight, so I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. What I think is going to be a deciding factor in this series is going to be if Pittsburgh is going to be able to continue playing the speed game that they've really been playing since they've acquired Carl Hagelin and made that coaching change. You know, they got through the Eastern Conference with that. I don't necessarily know they're going to be able to play that game against a very stout defensive team in San Jose. They're a very, very excellent team, the Sharks are, in suppressing dangerous chances. They defend exceptionally well. On the flip side, they're also one of the better teams at creating dangerous chances.
They can also, I think they can carry the puck up pretty well.
Yeah, it's a very, it is top heavy, no question about it. But you know, they get big bodies in front. You mentioned Brent Burns; he's one of the best guys in the league. And when he takes shots from the blue line, they find their way to the net. They create rebounds. They score those greasy goals. Yep. Listen, I mean, that's something to. They score a lot of goals right in front of the net.
A lot of veteran leadership on the Sharks team. I mean. Are they happy to be here? Not anymore. They're going for the cup this year, and I think the Sharks. I honestly think it's going to be a good matchup in this series. It's going to be a speed series where the Sharks can carry the puck up. You see him getting out of the zone. Logan Couture, he's been carrying the puck up, taking some good shots. You know, it might not be a cast of people on this roster that you've heard of before. You know, Vlasic, Martin, you know, these guys aren't like Crosby, Malkin, and the guys you usually hear of with Pittsburgh. But I'll tell you what, I think the Sharks are going to have to give Pittsburgh a little bit more than they think they're going to handle with them. You know, Matt Murray, folks, if you haven't seen any of Matt Murray, I don't know what you've been watching, but this kid's playing phenomenal. I mean, I said at the beginning of the season, I didn't know if he can handle the pressure. I mean, this getting into the playoffs is a big-time step up from the regular season. But you know what? He's played well. He's played solid. And like Brian said before, Martin Jones and Matt Murray might not be household names, but tell you what, folks, they are solid goaltenders.
No, absolutely. You know, I think that they're going to need more from Murray in this series to beat a team like San Jose. I think their defense got to come up big in this series. They're not going to be able to outshoot the Sharks the way that they have going through the teams that they've beaten in the East. So I think Pittsburgh's going to have to make most of their opportunities on the power play. I think they're a team that, you know, the fans in this area know they get calls all the time. Anybody gets within 5 feet of Sidney Crosby, you're going to the box. And they have to make the most of those opportunities when they get them. You know, the San Jose penalty killing was bottom third in the league during the regular season. You know, again, it's going to look like the Olympics in some cases. You're going to see at 87 diving around. But
I mean, Pittsburgh passes the puck well.
They do.
I mean, on the power play as well. And I'll tell you what, for all you Sidney Crosby haters out there, you can say what you want about this guy about in the past and things like that. The guy's got 3 game-winning goals right now. Okay, he's coming to play right now. The guy is one of, if not the best player in the NHL right now. So
you can make the case.
Another weapon for Pittsburgh to throw. I mean, Malkin obviously is Malkin. Russ, like you said, stepped up. You got a lot of guys on this Pittsburgh team you've heard before. So all in all, when it comes down to when we give our predictions, and I'll start the predictions, obviously, I think the Penguinos are going to win this one. I think they take them out in 6. I don't want to say 5 because I want to give the Sharks benefit of the doubt. I've been wrong ever since. But I want to say 6 because I think the Sharks are going to put up a little bit of fight. But when you look at this Pittsburgh team, how they come at you in waves, and like you said, Brian, the power play and a lot of differentials. I mean, this Letang, you got guys on this team that are just solid. And I kept using an analogy with the veteran leadership on the Sharks because it hasn't worked for me before, but I just think Pittsburgh is a better team in this situation. I think they win in 6.
Well, you're making Sharks fans pretty happy because you pick against them every single round.
There's probably like 6 out there, so that's not a big deal.
The viewers of the Sports Box know we've been saying Pittsburgh has been so hot since March, and they still are. But I do think that this challenge might prove to be a little too much. Again, different animal than the teams they've played in the East in San Jose. I think they're going to struggle to get that speed game going when the Sharks clock things up. They have the size advantage. I think Burns is the best defenseman in the series. Yeah. They've come up big again in this playoffs. I'm going to say that the San Jose Sharks win this series in 6 games. They win the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history.
You just don't like agreeing at all, did you?
I gotta go with my gut.
Attaboy.
Hey, last time I agree with you, I lost.
That's true.
So
That's true. Okay, so just a quick review. If you went to go get a Coke or something, I took Pittsburgh in 6. Brian's taking the Sharks in 6. So very, very simply cut. I just think the Sharks. They're although they're a good team and they're there. I think the Penguins have their number. So
we will see.
We will see. So that's all the time we have for the Sports Box today. Keep an eye out. We got some new stuff coming. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Absolutely. Be safe. Have fun. Do what you want to do. Remember, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters is right here. Take care, folks. Have a good weekend. See ya.
Don't forget to subscribe.